Learn to be super successful. Subscribe to my channel, Meathead. Your career is rank and fucking yank. Jack Welch. You all rank each other. Because he's right. People will give you, softies will give you a high score because they, but when everybody, all 25 people in here aren't softies, and at least 2/3 to 3/4 are going to rank you where you belong, on the bottom. It's a great system. When Jack Welch took over GE, 1980-ish, it was had 400,000 employees. The company was worth about, 100 or 150 billion, and we competed against them and Siemens. They were our main competitors. When he left, they had 160,000 employees, down from 400, and the company had tripled in size, and he became a billionaire from his stock options, the rank and yank. Because they can only blame their fellow employees for getting fired. And as I told you yesterday, he said in his book, he only did it for 20%, but he really did it for 40% every 3 years. There was 40% turnover. But I think I've got 3 yank and rankers out there. 3. Infinitely successful, I might add. But it's certainly not the model to follow if you want to be liked. Because even though their contemporaries, their colleagues, are firing them, they blame it on you. Because you instituted the rank and yank. But it works like a fucking charm. But hardly anybody does it. To say it's unpopular is an understatement of biblical proportions. But to say it's the most effective I've seen in 52 and a half years is also an understatement of biblical proportion. It works like a charm. If you're in there to make money. Now, see, I was taught, coming out of school after the Vietnam War, that you had a fiduciary duty to the shareholders to make as much fucking money as you could. Well, that's certainly gone by the wayside now. And when you own 40 or 50% of a public company, you'll know how I felt. And when you see people waste shit, and you go through the corporate cafeteria, you do all this shit, and you see the waste. And then I built a gym. We had 44,000 square feet of office space. I built a 2,000 square foot gym in the fucking building. They stop and have a cigarette, go fuck their girlfriend, and that. You got 45-minute gym time. All you got to do is walk down the end of the hall. That's what the gym is. It was not unusual to have 40% of the employees working Saturday and Sunday. And I'm proudest of this. In the 9 years I was CEO of a public company, we had not one person put in for overtime. I'm going to say that slow for you dipshits. 9 years as a CEO of a big public company, not one person put in for overtime. If you couldn't get it done in those days, we had 9-hour days. If you couldn't get it in 9 hours, your fellow employees used to beat the shit out of you because you're ruining our fucking numbers. And Peña, the old man, as I used to be called, the old man is not going to, his bonus pool is going to be reduced by your inefficiency. It's again blanket parties. You're in the parking lot, down in a subterranean parking lot, and all of a sudden a blanket's thrown over your head, and 5 or 6 of your co-employees kick the shit out of you. The good old days, which I realize we're not in the good old days. But if you start instituting those kind of fancy programs, you're not going to increase productivity. And the rank and yank is still legal. And your accountants, and I used to get bonuses on the day, and they said, you got to take withholding, Dan, but I did it anyway. I said, it's up to PwC to figure out how to make it all legal. People loved. And I used to walk around the office, 44,000 square feet, and 60, 70% of the offices would be full. Some people say because they knew the old man was walking around. Well, that may be true. But, and we had corporate picnics and bowling teams and baseball teams. I sponsored a race car, Formula One and all that shit. We did the full enchilada. And we were profitable all but 6 months of the years that I ran the company. 6 months. Report in this country every 6 months, not every 4 months, every 3 months. Money talks. When a secretary in those days was making 40 grand, it was not unusual for her to get a $50,000 a year-end bonus. That changed lives. And the theory that you're going to operate under, if and when you follow the steps, is I do not mind eating last as long as I eat most. When you have 55, 60% of the company, unless you're a fucking idiot, which we have some idiots in the room, you should eat most. But you're not going to eat, you're going to eat last, not first. Any other comments, questions about the Belgian? Yes, sir, in the back.
I have a comment and a question. Comment is, he got a loan to go to the castle. He was running on fumes. For him, it was do or die.
Well, some of you are living on fumes yourself here. You're off the tailpipe of the car. I know what that feels like. People, as pudgy as I am now, people don't believe that I used to know what it felt like to be hungry. You haven't missed many meals yourself, I'm sure. But I know what it feels like. Like somebody's walking in mud in your belly. I remember that. I used to eat 1 meal a day in the beginning years. 1 meal a day. And there was no diet program or bullshit. I could only afford 1 meal a day, so I only ate 1 meal a day. And I'm not suggesting this to you. I used to drink myself to sleep every night. So the money I didn't spend on food, I spent on alcohol. And every morning when I woke up in New York City, I'd run around Central Park twice. It was about 10 miles. Throwing up all the way to get the alcohol out of my system. Every single night like fucking religion. Like a 5-time prayer a day Muslim. And I drove myself a lot of years that way. But I was impervious to sickness. I was impervious. I could work, 4 or 5 days with no sleep. And when the 24-hour markets opened up, I said, I can never sleep. You had a comment? Is there anything else?
Coming from Australia.
Really? I wouldn't have known it.
Our dollar's worth half of what the pound, the American dollar, the euro is. So when we're talking about your first valuation, your first deal is going to be $1 million. When I get back to my own economy, is that number
okay? No. In Australia, it's going to be like 2 million. 2 million. Somebody else's hand was up? Yes, sir, in the back.
So for the Belgian waffle, he used to give out equity, and then because his board is transitioning, he said that he now stops. Shouldn't he still be giving equity according to your method?
Yeah, but he's not. Some of the people decide that wrongfully. He won't pay the price. There's a pay price to action for everything. What's your pay price to action for being a billionaire? I can't answer that. Is it 100 hours a week? Is it leaving your family? I'm not suggesting these things. Is it leaving your wife of 25 years, which I just scanned that email? What is it? Missing all the football, basketball, rugby, fucking debutante balls? I don't know what it is. But everybody in this room that has ever sat in this room has had a pay price to action and he figured out over time. Okay? So what is your pay price to action? And I know I had no limit. I'd do anything. I've been accused of murder. I fought the unions. I've done all kinds of shit. I fought the mafia. When Kuwait invaded, when Iraq invaded Kuwait, and our 30% shareholder was the Kuwaiti government, sovereign fund. And my board of directors all signed proxies over to me, and it's your company, Danny, you vote for us. We had bomb threats, cars shot at. My president of the coal company, Clyde Goins, God love him, God rest his soul now, got ambushed on going to Great Western Mine number 13. in Blood County, Kentucky. 1,000 bullets in his van. 1,000. They couldn't kill the old bastard. So, I mean, I'm not suggesting you do any of that. But I had no pay price. I'd do anything. Anything. And I was afraid. I'm still not afraid of anything. But you've got to decide. You've got to decide. Some of you, when you leave here, you're just going to be, well, I checked that box. That's not for me. Go on your merry way. God bless you. At least you don't have to go to any more seminars. You don't have to listen to any more podcasts. No more books, magazines, that kind of shit. I've had people here that spend $250,000 a year on what they used to roughly call self-help. Now you got 20, 30 hours a week extra, and you've got $20,000 a month that you can do something else with. I've said this on the YouTube, but I'm going to say it again. When I spent 9-10 months analyzing the industry and looking, I went to Tony and all the rest seminars, and I said, these guys don't know dick. This will be like a piece of cake to me. One of the current guys who's still around said, Danny, the self-help personal development business is $1 going around to 1 billion people. The same dollar. And self-help hasn't changed. And then I had the pleasure of meeting W. Clement Stone, who was the founder of a big insurance company, and who invented personal development. And he hired Napoleon Hill in the early 50s, who had gone bankrupt twice, all kinds of ugly shit. But anyway, he hired him because he was a gifted sales guy. And they spent a weekend in Chicago in his penthouse, Mr. Stone's penthouse, and he needed a new product for his 60,000 insurance salesmen to sell. And they couldn't come up with a name. So, as legend has it, and he told me this, and I heard this on the phone from him personally, W. Clement Stone. He said, we came up with the idea, and I said, I'd like to take credit for it, but it was probably W. Clement's, it was probably Napoleon Hill. And he said, personal development. You can't measure it. That's what we're going to call this new industry. And that's how it was born. And you all look like personal development chumps. You can't measure it. The only part of personal development that you can measure if you're fat and you lose weight. I don't consider losing weight part of personal development. But anyway, fat people do. You saw that Calvin Klein, the two magazines from 92 and 2022, right? And again, I'll say it again for the millionth time. The only reason anybody talks about numbers like I do and produces numbers almost on a daily basis from you meatheads is because I'm the only one that produces numbers. I wish I had all the money that you meatheads in this little group has spent on personal development and horse shit. I could add to my grandkids' trust fund, which is probably bigger than already all the money you spent, but because you don't hold anybody accountable, and the systems don't hold you accountable. It's easy. You're going to get a schedule, how to do a deal in 30 days, I think it is. And it's pretty easy to follow. By day 5, if you haven't done this, fuck yourself. Go blow your brains out. By day 12, if you haven't done this, go blow your brains out. By day 15, go blow your brains out. By day 20, go blow your brains out. Or you don't start. Anything else about the Belgian waffle? Just a nice, meek guy. A rich, nice, meek guy. Yes, sir.
I think the best thing we saw with both of them were they followed steps. Invariably, what happens? So the steps were following the steps made the difference.
Well, no, you're going to fail if you don't follow the steps. No, it's easier than that. It's black and white. You know, the reason why our guys produce more babies from their wives is because when you find out that you can do this shit, your self-esteem rises. Somehow the sperm figures out it can swim faster and get up there to impregnate the egg. I've got at least 100 kids that women don't want out of my flock. 100, maybe 1,000. If you don't follow those steps, you're fucked. It's simple, and it starts in the first is to create your own personal foundation. Now, I'm not going to go into that. That's all. It's not horseshit, but I'm not going to go into that. This seminar is not about that. But in looser terms, as we used to say in the 60s, you got to get your fucking head screwed on straight. That's what the first steps are, and you're not going to go. You will not take the time. You're all going to skip to step 4 or 5. I'm going to show you the errors in a couple days. And I bet £1 million. See that pound up there that's in a frame? Next to my picture with a red frame around it, there's a pound in a frame. One of you, I bet £1 million to 1 that you were going to fail. And I pay. Months later, I get this little chicken shit thing that I put up on the wall. How did you know, Mr. Peña? Like I told you. You know how many times I've heard that story? Not your specific, but you know. One, because I've done it myself. I know what it takes. And I know the effort, the pay price, the action of the kids that have been successful, what it takes. We don't have a 70% divorce rate for nothing. And I'm not proud of that. I wish we had a 7% divorce rate. But I know the flabby ass that you call your wife ain't going to put up with your shit. It's like the old man, 65 years old. He's already rich by normal standards. From Nottingham. God bless you. I'm telling him. Everybody told me he was crazy. Why do you want to go through all this shit at your age? So now as he drives around and flies around in his G50, 650, and he's in his early 70s now. His early 70s. Because he still had fire in his belly. So I know, follow the steps. If you don't follow the steps, you're going to fail. Now, is $10 million or 10 million pounds failure? No. But vis-a-vis the universe and vis-a-vis these kids is a failure. Everybody's going to tell you, how smart you are. When we talk to Peter tomorrow, the next day, he's gone from making 35,000 euros a year. He's just flipped into his new 25 million euro house. Upgrading from his 12 million euro house, upgrading from his 8 million euro house. I'll leave on that positive note, YouTube. Go fuck yourself.